Here we are with candidate for the 2024 PDGA Board of Directors. It's Sean Clancy, PDGA number 152809 out of north of Detroit, Michigan. Sean, welcome. Let's get into it and let's talk about you and why you are a candidate for the PDGA Board of Directors. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate being on here. I've been a PDGA member since 2020. I'm probably one of the many that came along in 2020, 2021. And I started playing disc golf because of the competition. One thing that I love is, you're going out, you're playing in different tournaments, or you're having a casual round. But for me, I'm pretty competitive. The fact that I can really play against myself, we have that rating, and I love that aspect of it. Of course, I want to win a tournament, but I'm gauging myself to other competitors. I am a husband, a father of 3 kids, who, I'm starting to get them throwing the disc around a little bit, and they're liking it, they're enjoying it. And so I'm excited for this opportunity and just really the future of disc golf.
Well, Sean, something prompted you to want to throw your name in the hat. And I want to dive in there and talk about what it is that prompted you to want to be a part of leading this global body that guides the game of disc golf. What issues, what priorities do you hope to champion if you find yourself elected to the board of directors?
Yeah, well, actually last year I contemplating, throwing my name in there. I decided not to, but then actually I was watching Champions Cup this year, and it was actually you, Grant. You were talking about, hey, and it kind of re-entered my mind, and I kind of went through the process, and I'm like, all right, I think I'm going to do it this year. But the reasons why is because I played a decent amount of tournaments in my last, 4 years, we'll call it. And, I think something that we're obviously going to get into today, but the one thing I see that is lacking, and it's not necessarily lack of trying, but the junior level. You can see behind me, I got, 3 kids. Actually, yesterday was my 10-year-old and my 7-year-old's first tournament. And when I go to different tournaments, 2 things. Number one, juniors, primarily younger juniors, but also women. I'm a numbers guy. I'm a financial advisor. I love, looking at numbers, investments. And one thing that I think the PDGA, does great at is their demographic report. I don't know what the click rate is through there, but I'm definitely on that every year pretty much. And one thing that is very evident in the numbers is the female division across the board is much, much lower. And I know this is something the PDGA wants growth on. You see it with different things like Throw Pink and all the different things that they do, and that's great. But specifically with juniors, just looking at the numbers, trying to get those numbers up, I am a firm believer that when kids are growing up, they have those experiences. For us, we call it nostalgia, right? Things that we look in the past about and we love. And for me, I want to create environments for my kids that, if they like disc golf and they want to do different tournaments, I'm not going to force it on them. But if they learn it from a young age, I think that's the important thing. Right now, we got, they call it the 4 or 5 major sports in our country, and that's in, every gym class and everything like that. And maybe some of us don't know, but the PDGA has a grant program that you can actually, have up to $500, to help educate and teach kids at a young age about disc golf. I think that is a fantastic start. Obviously, I don't know the numbers and all the stuff behind it, but I think that needs to be expanded upon because it has to start young. And just, again, from a numbers standpoint, I think most of us, when we go to tournaments, male-dominated on the amateur side, male-dominated. And so if we're looking for new members, naturally, women specifically, that's where the numbers are for growth. And then obviously as well as from the junior level. So that's really my main, call it passion, for growing the sport.
Well, it sounds like you're very clear on your thoughts in terms of what you want to prioritize. I want to get into a little bit about the background you have that will lend itself to you being able to take action. What kinds of skills, knowledge, education, perhaps professional background, how can you position yourself and what can you actually do in order to benefit the causes that you just mentioned?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I'm a financial advisor, investments, helping clients in retirement and other financial goals. And I love that because that's a one-on-one experience that I'm able to have with people as far as a very important thing, and that's their future, that's their retirement or college savings, anything like that. And so for me, I'm a big believer in it. No matter what your profession is, have fun, right? For those of you, if you go to my number and you look at my picture on the PDGA website, I like to have fun. And so I'll leave it there. But I say that because over the last couple of years, I've kind of had these ideas that I've wanted to do. And number one, I've played Ledgestone the last 4 years now. And if you go on Ledgestone's website and you read the history, 11, 12 years, whatever it's been, I'm a business owner. And so I kind of like, I wonder if I could, do something like that and maybe be a Ledgestone in the future. And so the last 3 years, we've sponsored some tournaments. This past year was a B tier. Weather wasn't the best, but, it is what it is living in Michigan. But also this past year, I started a team. We call it, my company's name's Provision Financial, so it's called Team Provision. 3 local professionals and just helping them with memberships. And so I want to continue to help people in my current area in Michigan, but also just grow the sport by my base of people that I work with on a regular basis. We have someone that manages our social media. And so with that team, we're talking if they win a tournament, right? And so all these people that we're in front of every day that is like, what's disc golf? And they didn't know that Michigan has close to like 5,000 courses. And they're like, what? And just educating them through social media. If I'm in a meeting with a client, pretty much we're talking about disc golf because they're talking about ball golf, but I'll talk about how I play disc golf. And so really, as far as the action item, the things that I try to do is, no matter what the area or what I'm doing, I'm talking about it. But again, I'll revert back to the main thing, and that is, juniors playing, juniors and women. Actually, one funny story I'll say, on I think it was Facebook, we had a client that had reached out and like, oh my gosh, my grandson played in a tournament. It looks like you guys played in the same tournament and he beat you. I'm like, oh great, yeah, thank you for that. But people know about it, and it's one of those things that you can find commonalities. And through my business, I'm just trying to grow the sport any way that I can think. And I'm excited, if given this opportunity to serve at a higher level.
Well, as you know, the PDGA is a member-based organization. We exist to serve our members and the broader game of disc golf, of course. And of course, our members, they pay for that membership, whether they are an amateur, a pro, a junior, a woman, a master's level player. I'd like to hear you sort of transition some of your goals into that context and talk about the member benefits that attract members for the first time, and then of course keep them as a member year after year after year. What do you think the top member benefits are, or what should they be moving forward? And broader still, how can the PDGA increase the value of a PDGA membership? Yeah.
So first and foremost, I didn't know. There's a lot of discounts that we can get, whether it be hotels or car rental places, that's available on PDGA.com if you are a member. But I think it's going to look different for different people, right? If I look at, I'm kind of a self-motivated, if I want to improve my game, YouTube is where I go. But also, I think that if there is something that can show people, hey, how do you get better? Or how does ratings work? I, again, went into the nitty gritty and figured it out, the algorithm, if you want to call it that, because I want to better myself, for personal reasons. But I think that probably the big thing for me would be really putting a lot of money into the pot for growing the junior level. I've said that probably two or three times now, but if disc golf is going to continue to grow, 2020, 2021, it grew for obvious reasons. But when we look at the numbers, 2021 over 2022, the new member actually decreased. I think it was on pace for 2023. It's not going to grow. And so if you look at the numbers, the younger kids is where it needs to be. So like I said, through the grant program, through different things, pushing money into the pot for that, I think is where it has to go. So me as a member, if I want disc golf to continue to grow, so, at the top level with professionals, I think it's fantastic the amount of money that they're starting to make on the pro level. But if you go 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, I think if you continue to just is from a benefit standpoint, put a lot of money into the pots for the juniors and the women's. I think that's where it has to be. I'm the type of guy that I'm in it for the long play. As an investment advisor, I think you kind of have to, especially for retirement purposes. And so with that being said, just really focusing on the women and the juniors, because that's not where the players are currently. So
you say money in the pot for these different target groups, but how should that money be spent? What are we actually doing with it? Are we talking about educational programs? Are we talking about improvement of competition, of events? And I just would like you to be as specific as you can be in terms of exactly what you want to do in order to reach these groups.
So I think I was talking to a couple of my buddies who are tournament directors, and I asked them a question. The question was, hey, are you guys seeing anything from the PDGA that is, whether it's incentivizing or, hey, how can you get more juniors to your tournaments? How can you get more women to your tournament? And so when I say more money in the pot, currently PDGA, or tournament directors, I should say, they pay for a C tier $50 for insurance, and I think it's $1 or $2 per player. Is there a way that we can put money to where, hey, if you reach a certain line where, hey, you know what, we have 20% of the tournament as women and or juniors, and I'm just throwing a number out there, to where you can incentivize then tournament directors to say, hey, you know what, I really want more women or juniors to be at this tournament. Instead of, hey, I want, the AM1 players specifically because maybe it's a higher entry fee or whatever it is. I think something like that, to where, we're really incentivizing, because it's kind of like I don't want to say a dual system, but you kind of have your tournament directors to where you have to have, your license or whatever you want to call it. But we need to have that, coherence into where they're working together for the same cause. Because right now, I see it everywhere in PDGA. They want juniors and they want, women. But I don't know if that's necessarily the goal of a new tournament director. And especially if they're new, they're like, we just want, 72 people for our C tier, right? Not necessarily, women and or juniors. So I think that's where I would say money in the pot, as well as the grant program that I talked about at different elementary schools and whatnot.
Great stuff. Here's a delicate question for you, but I think it's an important question to ask someone in your position who is vying to become a leader for the sport, in essence, to take the place of someone else who is outgoing. Where right now do you feel like the PDGA is falling short at this moment in time? What change do you hope to bring in a positive direction? Where do you hope to turn something around in terms of what the PDGA is currently doing, is currently even struggling with?
I feel like a broken record a little bit, but I think, really, again, I'm a numbers guy. I look at the numbers. Where isn't it? I mean, I played sports growing up, and I got a lot of people that I work with whose kids are in sports. And when you look at travel basketball, baseball, football, I mean, from a money standpoint, parents put a lot of money into different travel sports. Okay. And so from a junior standpoint, realistically, 25 or $30 for an annual membership. I think parents will spend money if their kid truly enjoys it and wants to do it. And so, I'm going to keep talking about the junior and the female. So let me say this. Yesterday, I had my kids' first tournament, and they did a fantastic job. And I think there was something like $2,800 of added merchandise. It was an all women's tournament and juniors. And the look on my kids' face when they won a CTP, when they were the only kid in that division, and how happy they were, that to me is something that will keep them and say, hey, I want to play another tournament. And that's why I keep pounding on this junior and women. I have 2 girls myself, so that's important to me. But it's also important to the growth of disc golf. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that the ratio of male to female is around 50-50 in the country, in the world for that matter. And so clearly men are winning as far as how many people actually play and have memberships. But it's tough because I can only say what I see. And when I see the numbers, I probably said numbers a million times, but the junior division is not there. I think the math that I did is there's 12 times more men than women. And in the junior division, there's 7 times more males than females. I mean, to me, I just look there. And so, yeah, that's my answer. And it's pretty much been consistent. So
it's a solid platform. Let's end on a positive note. What is something that comes to mind that the PDGA is and has been doing very right, and you want to do what you can to ensure that continues?
So I watch a lot of disc golf things, and I hear pros talk about ratings. But from an amateur side, from a noodle arm, I'm one that I love it. And I love the way that ratings, help you compete against yourself and gives you a benchmark to, hey, this is where, I've had very specific goals. I wanted to go from this division to that one. And I think it's fantastic. I've played ball golf in the whole, I think there was something like 8,000 events last year. I am in Michigan. I believe it's a top 3 state when it comes to members. So I have a lot of events around me. But, I've played events when I've traveled for work in other parts of the country, and I can find a tournament easily. I think to myself, I used to play ball golf, and someone who is not a good ball golfer by any means, but is there where I could be in a tournament and play and have like a good benchmark? I don't think that's there. And so I think disc golf has from my experience, a very good competition base, and you can pretty much play anywhere. And that's really cool because I played basketball and everything like that. And once you get older like me, you don't want to play basketball. But even when I was I got out of high school into college, there was like intramural sports and stuff like that, or those local clubs that you can go play in. But the type of competition like there is in disc golf, I don't see it anywhere else. And, I'm a fan for life now. So I think they're doing great with tournaments and the rating system. So.
Sean, as we wrap up our conversation today, I want to give you a chance to share anything that you might have in your mind, in your notes that we haven't gotten to. If I haven't set you up in any of my questions to share something that you feel like is important for potential voters to know about you and that just might win you their vote, what would that be? What have you not gotten a chance to share today that you'd like to before I let you go?
Well, I think really what it would be is, I've talked a lot about supporting amateurs at different levels, but on the pro side, going to an event is special. And I say that because, yes, they're way better than us, okay, number one. But number 2, they're accessible. And that to me is so important because any other sport in this country, they're not as accessible. And that's one thing that I think is unique with disc golf and the Pro Tour specifically. I've gone to Declo and Leadstone and different ones, and a disc flies over your head and they're talking to you that is special. And so I would say go to an event and see how accessible they are, because I think that's special, and I think that's something that puts disc golf in a good situation moving forward. Because again, if kids can see, oh my gosh, that's the I watch Paige Pierce or I watch Kristen Tatar or whatever, and it's like, wow, they're really good, but also they're nice, right? It's simple as that. And so I think whatever happens, in this for me. I'm just excited about the future for disc golf, especially for my kids, but also other kids their age. So,
Sean Clancy is PDGA number 152809, and he is vying for your vote in the 2024 PDGA Board of Directors elections. Elections open on July 1st. You can find out about all of the candidates, including, of course, Sean, at pdga.com, and make sure you check your email for the link to vote. That is the email that is part of your PDGA membership. Make sure it's updated, and you'll have a chance to cast your vote. Sean, thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Grant. I appreciate it.